you seem to be kind of easing off on it a bit. But
Not well. It's sort of got, like, Greater Manchester's sort of going back. I mean, I'm in Cheshire, so I'm not too far away from Manchester, but like it's sort of just going back down. It's going back into it, but it's I don't know what the fuck's happening. Nobody does. What is happening?
Honestly,
what is happening?
like fucking. I think it's okay up here because Nicola Sturgeon's kind of turning into Boris in the sense that we're not really getting a clear message as what to do. But I mean, I'm going back to work in 2 weeks, starting for the 17th. But I'm back for 2 weeks and off for 2 weeks. But I've been off since fucking March, man. So
have you? See, I was. You got furloughed.
Yeah, I've been furloughed in that, so I'm not really complaining. I've been getting paid for it.
I was going to say that's all right then. See, like I got furloughed. We got sent to work from home in March, and then I think I got furloughed like the first week of April. And I was like, all right, okay, that's cool. Like, I get 80% pay. And then in May, because I worked for Dawson's. I've just left today, actually. But they went into
Dawson's Music.
Dawson's Music, yeah.
Oh, right, nice, okay.
They went into administration, in the middle of like the pandemic and the lockdown and everything. So everyone was like, fuck. And we got bought out on the last day, and I was like, "Oh, sick! Right, that's great. Very lucky with that." And then sort of PMT have come along, and they've offered me a job, so I'm going to work for PMT as of Monday.
So are Dawson's and PMT kind of merging together?
No. They're big competitors. I just snaked them. I just kind of snaked. I snaked Dawson's a little bit, but you know.
I'll order from PMT all the time because no offense to Dawson's, but the prices are much better. So I don't know. I go there. Plus, they do fucking sick finance deals, and I'm a sucker for that. So.
Oh, I know. I got my new bass on a finance from PMT as well, just as I'd started with Dawson's as well. Even like I worked for Dawson's, and I still didn't want to buy from them.
Bastard.
Honestly, I just didn't want to buy from because I could see from the inside how like unreliable it all was and how shite the shipping and everything was. I was just like, I don't want to fucking I'm not doing this. I'm trying
to remember if I've ever ordered from Dawson's. It's been a while, so I couldn't say anything in regards to shipping. But yeah, PMT are like next day delivery and stuff. So
exactly,
like that's awesome. That's good to hear, man.
But yeah, no, it's good. I've been recording anyway, so I suppose we're just kind of going anyway. Like I suppose we've started. Sick. I suppose we've started. So yeah, just welcome back to just another episode of VoDKast. I've got Stewart Duffy from he was from Operation Gun Destroyer and Shattered Horizons.
Yeah,
I don't know. Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, what are you doing at the minute, music-wise? Are you doing anything or?
Well, before this lockdown all started, I did kind of the cogs started turning for a new project I'm working on. It wasn't anything really nailed. Like we obviously, I don't know if Andrew mentioned on the podcast when he was on, but the studio that Aphotic practice in, I like the band that I'm starting also practices in that room.
Oh, right, okay. Is that where like all the slam bands in Scotland or all like the metal bands? Is that where you all sort of like go to? Is that like the go-to?
A few of them, yeah. Like I'm Scordatura practice in that room, Aphotic practice in that room. Burning the Dream, I don't know if you've heard of them. They're another band that practice in there. Trying to think who else. And us, but we don't have a name yet, so I can't really give too much away. But the sound that we're going for is kind of like, I started getting into really heavy stuff like Nails, Gatecreeper, Full of Hell, Black Breath, Napalm Death, kind of like grind HM stuff. And I'm starting to kind of go down that route. So I've been writing a lot of stuff over the lockdown, but it's been difficult though because I'm, as you can see from the beginning of this phone call, I'm terrible at technology. So when it comes to like programming drums and writing stuff on Guitar Pro and that, I'm shit at it. So I prefer writing in like a band setting. So like having the band together and kind of writing stuff. That's how I've always done it. And obviously because of a global pandemic, that's kind of put things on hold.
It's kind of stopped it all. I mean, I was going to sort of ask, like, are you still like sticking with the slam, or are you venturing elsewhere? You're kind of sort of like venturing like a bit more of a noisy, kind of grindy sort of.
Yeah, that's it. I wanted to play faster, but also want to play like big riffs because I've gotten a lot of stoner doom and stuff like that recently. So don't get me wrong, I still listen to slam. I actually took the effort to listen to the new Eons of Misery album before coming on this because I was like, you know what? I've not fucking listened to that yet, so I'm going to listen to it.
What do you think?
That was class, man. Awesome.
Thank you. I'm glad we just got we just got all the CDs sent over to us now. But our record label Reality Fade. I don't know. I'm not slagging them off at all. Like, I'm not slagging you off here, Dimitri. But they've sent them in like DVDs.
Oh, what?
So they sent us like the packaging for CDs, and we had to like buy the own cases and that. But they've done like DVD things, and I was like, "Oh right, cool! Like we're getting a DVD."
Is that like a special edition, kind of like a paperback, kind of like that?
It is, yeah. But I was like, why is it in it? Because I thought, have we made a DVD and I didn't even know about it? Because my mate came and dropped it off, and I was like, okay, this is something I've never actually seen before, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. You get
that is pretty cool. You're going to get the elitists getting that, being like, I can't fit it on my shelf and stuff.
Oh, I know, I know, and we're waiting for vinyls to come through as well. Fingers crossed on that one as well, so that'll be good and that. So, but yeah, it's going. To be fair, the album's been very well received. Like considering
I'm glad to hear. Like, I honestly think it's a big step up. Like, I found myself. I think like the title track, "Eons of Misery." Like literally before this phone call, I was jamming that, and it's just. I think it's like in the middle, there's such a groovy riff, and it's very simple, but it really caught me, and I'm very into that. So that's the thing. I am quite a shit guitarist now in the grand scheme of things. So I appreciate big riffs more than like fucking wiggly woos and stuff like that. You know?
I'm the same. Yeah, I've never like had that much of a love with solos and things like that. Like,
nah, it captured me when I started playing guitar. It did kind of capture me. But I'm miles away from that now.
Everyone wants to be like Dimebag Darrell or something. Like, oh
yeah, exactly.
And it's just I don't know. I don't know. My personal preference. I think sometimes if it's too over the top, like. Sometimes it's nice, like in a Fossick's new song, it was really nice. It was really well done. It was really well put.
Yeah.
It wasn't
definitely.
too long.
Like,
it wasn't too fucking showy off. It wasn't too shit and annoying. But like,
as long as it complements the mix, I think it definitely helps.
But then if you listen to something like fucking, I don't know, like Slayer, for example, and you like listen to it and you're like, these are fucking hard riffs. Like this is really good. And then like Kerry King just comes in with this absolute shit.
Oh, so bad.
Wank fest, and you're like, oh my god, this is just. You've just ruined this entire song for me now, pretty much with that.
100%. Like I think as long as it in the composition of the song as a whole, I think if it complements it and adds to it, like when you're talking about the new Aphotic single, shout out to Aphotic, like that was awesome. I think that sounded fucking incredible. And Liam's vocals on that really like.
Don't honestly. So. Well, I did like I got a message from Jordan and he was like, obviously you've got this like VoDKast thing going on. Are you doing like reaction videos to like new tracks and stuff like that? And I was like, I can give it a go. Yeah. Anyway, I recorded a reaction I might release it. I don't know. I think it's a bit crap, but anyway, so I'm like literally on that. Like there's bits in that, and I'm just astonished with how good Liam.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like no words at some point. Too. I can agree with you on that.
It's fucking, it's insane. And I mean, I'm sure obviously you'll have met him because he's from like sort of up your ends. But he's such like a quiet little guy as well, and he's very like to himself. Like he's just such a lovely little. He's just he's dead nice, and you're like, and then that fucking comes out of him, and you're like, how the
it's astonishing because I've known Liam for a little while now, and like I met him at gigs years ago, and as you said, he was a quiet guy. We've got a big group chat with like Jordan and all of the Aphotic guys in it, and he's very vocal in that, and even in person nowadays he's very vocal. But like you're right, like when you hear him do his vocals, you're just like, holy shit, man! Like as someone that's very like he's almost perfected his craft, and I really admire that.
And the lyrics as well. His lyrics are just fucking brilliant.
He's like a thesaurus, isn't he? Like
honestly, like I was reading some of the lyrics, I was like, I don't know what half of this means, but fuck me, you are like such a wordsmith. Like, Andy said it on the last podcast. He was like, he's a proper poet. And then he was doing like he did like an interview for his uni project and things. So it was like basically something like this, and it was the same on that, and I was just sort of like, I really want to know like where you get like your sort of inspiration with lyrics from, and he was like sort of like saying about that. It's like it's so fucking interesting. He's such an interesting guy. I really like him. I really do like him.
Right, see, that's it. I think like obviously, see with death metal, it's like it really helped having the lyrics on the screen for that video because you couldn't understand a thing, but when you actually see the lyrics in front of you and you can hear them, you're like, oh yeah, I can totally understand what you're saying now that I've seen it in front of me.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, that new Aphotic single shit hot, and I've heard some of the future stuff that's going to be coming out. And
have you?
Yeah, Scottish death metal is definitely like on its way up with the new Scarlet single as well.
Oh,
That was
so good, so
so
good. I
good,
mean,
man.
yeah, it's sort of. I mean, I'm not that it sort of went anywhere really, but I mean, I feel like slam and death metal sort of quieting down for a few years as well, and
Definitely,
now
yeah,
it's
yeah.
sort of just coming like it's coming back up, and it's just so fucking good. And obviously, Party Cannon is still fucking like killing it, and bands like that are still like
Yeah.
going so strong. It's
It's
really
really
interesting.
awesome to see. Like, see, I was a bit worried initially getting back into music again, especially I don't know if you would have seen much what happened in Manchester, but there was a thing that happened recently called I called it non-skate, but like all
Oh,
these like
God.
guys started getting outed.
Oh,
I don't like
don't. It's fucking unbelievable. I mean, a lot
insane
of it seems to be in Manchester, but it's fucking all over the place. I mean, I don't
all
want to
over the
like,
place.
I'm not going to go on like naming names and going through
No,
specific
no.
individual cases because we'd be here forever. But it's fucking ridiculous. Like,
Oh, it's insane.
why is everyone being a nonce or fucking hitting the misses like everyone's doing
Yeah.
something unbelievable, and you're just like, what is
It,
happening?
it's like people you know as well, like people you've kind of,
Yeah.
especially like I'm not going to name any names, but a lot of people from Edinburgh and Glasgow that I knew from like playing with them or playing gigs for them or like
Mm,
lots of things. And these are people that I saw as like really innocent people. And then you just hear about these horrible things. And the thing is, when you, fair enough, if it's one case that comes out about someone, you could maybe argue like maybe this is one person trying to get at them. But when it's like multiple cases, it's just
yeah,
undeniable.
it
Uh,
is.
and it's a shame because I know a lot of bands that have been affected by it and stuff.
It's
And that
it's it's so bad. It is really bad.
is,
You feel sorry
and
for the bands though, don't you? Because like
oh
the
yeah,
bands
yeah,
then have to come out and they have no choice but to kick that member out of the band,
yeah.
which like obviously because if they keep him in the band, they obviously seem to be condoning it. So they've got, and then like they're remembered down, and also one of their like best friends, and like if someone in Visions had like come out, like I don't know if it came out that Dan or Ben or Tom were doing any of that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be. I'd be gutted that we're a member down, but I'd also be gutted because it's like one of my closest friends has been doing something like that, and
See,
it
that's
must
it
really
exactly.
fucking flatten you. Like, especially
It
if you're a
would.
band with like a bit of momentum behind you as well, it'll fucking stop you in your tracks. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, like the thing is as well. I've seen it. Like there's been bands where or people that used to be in bands or were in bands that aren't very big now, but there have been big bands that have came out of this or bands that had a lot of potential and have just been flattened and ruined
Mm,
by it. Like
it's a shame.
I'm not going to name them, but there's a band from Scotland up here near us, and the band was literally the name of the vocalist. I don't know if you know the band I'm talking about,
I don't,
but
but
I'm not going to say their name. But like literally the band's name was the vocalist's first name, and then all this stuff came out about him. Someone who I was quite close to in the past, and that's just floored them. And it's just honestly, it's such a shame to
it's
see.
grim to see. It's grim. But like, I think like now, like in a way, it's kind of a good thing, like with the council, because you don't want people like that within your scene. But at the same time, it's
Oh yeah,
gutting to know that you're a part of a scene where a lot of that has been happening for so long, and it's like,
see that's it,
fuck.
and that's what that kind of made me a bit resistant to kind of join it again. But at the same
Mm,
time, before all this, like ever since I kind of stopped doing music, like when OCD and Shattered kind of ended, I've been going to a lot of gigs. I've been listening to a lot of music, and I don't know
mm.
if you feel the same way. But see, when you go and see a band and you've not played a gig for a while, and you're watching them on stage, you feel envious towards them.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, you
Yeah,
sort of like, I want to have it. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
I know
And for
exactly.
the past like 2 years, has been the way I've felt. So I was like, you know what, fuck it. 2020 is going to be our year. We're going to get an EP launch, blah blah blah, and
And
then
then,
fucking COVID, like
oh, it's crazy. I
brutal,
mean,
man.
it's at the same time, it's been like, it's been okay for us because we've been able to like focus on the album. But now the album's out,
Yeah,
we obviously want to play like
you
an
want to
album
tour it
launch.
and
We
stuff.
want to do like
Yeah,
an album launch or a tour or something like that, and we just can't fucking do it. I mean, we had
yeah.
2 tours cancelled this year, and I was like, oh no, like we had
So
one
so
in.
gotten like
Oh, it really. I mean, we had one in June, with a couple. I can't even remember who the fucking bands are now. So, but there was one in August, which hadn't been announced. I mean, I'm sure I'm okay to fucking talk about it because it's not even happening.
it's
But
not happening,
it
right?
was going to be with Extermination, Dismemberment, and Analepsy.
Oh, nice. That'd
And
be
I,
awesome.
honestly, we got offered that tour, and we were thinking this must be like a buy-on or something like that. You know, this is like, and it wasn't. Like, they just wanted us on like the opening slot. I think there might have been another band, I don't know. But either way, we were the opening slot, and we were just like, fuck it, we'll go on that. And it sort of, you know, it was in the process of getting confirmed, and then it just all fell to shit. And I was like, oh no. And then the one in June then got cancelled like shortly after, and we were just like, for fuck's sake, this is. But I know what you mean. Like, you go and watch, like, if you're not playing a gig and you go and watch a band, you're sort of a bit.
Oh yeah, I just
start like itching. And
I mean, I guess one positive to see from all this has happened recently is that I've not been to any gigs, so I've not had that envy as of recently, and everyone's in the same boat. And I've seen a lot of festivals and tours are getting postponed to next year, and I guess there's some hope to seeing that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, who knows if it's going to be gone next year? That's the thing. Nobody really knows because, I mean, the way that things are happening, it seems like there's going to be a second wave, but fingers crossed there isn't.
I mean, we don't know, do we? It's the thing. Like, nobody fucking knows. It's unbelievable. But yeah, COVID shit. Fuck the Tories. Fuck the government. Fuck them all. Like, I can't be arsed with it. They've just made such a shambles of everything. It's just
Well, we'll get back to music, but like we definitely don't want to go down the politics route because we'll be here all day, and we'll have people fucking like, fuck this podcast, I'm going off. But exactly.
We'll just conclude it. We'll just conclude it. Fuck the Tories. There you go. Concluded. Done.
Exactly.
Done.
If you're a Tory and you're watching this, you're a nonce. Anyway, let's go.
Fantastic. Anyway, so back to music. Obviously, like, you were a part of Operation Cunt Destroyer, which was like, you guys had such like a fucking massive impact on the slam scene. Like, I remember like when sort of you guys first got announced, and obviously it was mainly it was the name, I think, that sort of caught my eye. It was
100%.
Oh god, yeah, I remember seeing it, and it was just Operation Cunt Destroyer. Fuck mate, like, what is? And I think I pretty much said at the time, what's it? This is going to be shit. Like, what the fuck's this? This is just going to be like a wank grime band, whatever. I listened to it, and I was like, oh, do you know what? This is actually really sick. And you had these like little short and sweet songs. It was brilliant. So, like, when did you sort of first come together and sort of start all of that?
Right. So, in terms of OCD, what happened was, now obviously Shattered had been established for a little while at this point. Shattered started in 2012, and we had started playing gigs and stuff like that. And with OCD, do you know what it was? We were at our friend Daniel's house one night, and we were up really late. He had do you just have empties down there? But like,
I know what an empty is. Like, parents have gone away, and then you have a bit of a. I mean, we don't call it an empty, but yeah. Right. I don't know what we call it, but
he had an empty, and he had like this little kind of mini recording studio in the corner of his room. And what happened was, we got like really drunk and like had quite a bit of smoke in that, and we're like really baked. We're like,
it was definitely so it was a drunk idea.
100%. I was like, I remember saying to Callum, I was like, let's record a slam EP. So we did it. Like literally, I don't know if you ever heard the very first demo we put out. It had hold on, let me try and remember songs, because we re-recorded them on the album. So it had Two in the Pink and a Fist and a Stink and Parasite from a Dirty Hermaphrodite on it. And we recorded those two songs in the space of like 2 hours, recorded some shitty vocals, did some shitty drums, put it on YouTube at like 3 in the morning, and then woke up the next day at like 3 in the afternoon, and the video had like 7,000 views or something.
Oh my God.
And we were like, what the fuck? Like, obviously someone had seen it and just shared it about, like, fuck. And we don't know who, because it wasn't us. And then we saw it had 7,000 views, and people liked it, and I was like, this is ridiculous. But like, in terms of the band name and that, like, that was literally on the spot. I was like, I just want to be something that's really shocking and out there, and something that is edgy and people will get offended by. So,
and people go, what the fuck is this? Like, what's this name?
Yeah, I just figured I was like Cunt Destroyer. Like, it's so forward and in your face. So like, fuck it, let's just go with that.
And then Operation
like, yeah, aye. And then at OCD, it's just like, it worked out pretty good. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was fucking. I mean, it definitely caught my eye. Like, as soon, like, I didn't even have to listen to it, and I knew, like, pretty much, all right, this is going to be like horrendous. Like, the lyrics are going to be disgusting. It's just going to be everything. Like,
I mean, if I'm being like, the first release we put out, let me see, I've got it here. I remember people were bidding like a lot of money on eBay for this. It was the split we did with Dead Inside.
Yes, I fucking love that release.
Yeah, so that had Fist of Pile of Filth and Pretty Nano Queen on it, and I remember when Dead Inside contacted us. So that was Jack and Dan and that, and we were like, oh wow, like we thought they were like a massive band at the time. So we were like, holy shit, this big band's asking us to do a split with them. So we're like, right, we'll go and get it recorded somewhere good. Now Andrew mentioned Stephen Jones on the last podcast. He's played from within guitarist, and he did recording. So every OCD release we have went to him for. So on that split, we were like, we're going to invest a little bit of money in this. We're going to go to Stephen and record 2 shitty slam songs and send it and see if people enjoy it. And then that release was pretty popular.
I was going to say I got that really because I saw you. I actually, did you? Yeah, you did. You did play this gig. So when we first met Dan, so Dan had just moved up to Manchester, and me and Ben had sort of like got in contact with him about joining Visions and stuff. And Dan was like, "Oh, I'm playing a gig this weekend with Dead Inside up in Glasgow. Do you Ben and Alex do you 3 want to come? Like I can drive us up." And we were like, "Oh right, yeah, okay." Alex didn't come for whatever reason. Fucking multitude of reasons he probably didn't come. But so me and Ben decided to go, and we went up, and I think we got there just. I think you guys were opening, or you were second on.
Was this?
It was Dead Inside headlined.
It was was this the show with Clawhammer? I'm sure.
Yeah, Clawhammer and Dead Inside headlined it. I can't remember. Iniquitous Savagery, maybe?
Iniquitous Savagery played it, yeah. I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and...
I can't remember you being at that, but there you go.
Well, we were there, like, because we'd just come up to see Dan, because we were like, oh, right, he's going to be a new vocalist, let's see what he's like on stage, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And it was obviously a trip to Glasgow, which I'd never been to Glasgow before, so I was like, all right, cool, we'll go up. And I went up, and I think, like, the week before, there was a show in Manchester, Cerebral Incubation and Ingested and Dynamite Abortion. Who else was on there as well?
that didn't come. That was that not that Chaotic Manchester show?
Oh,
a lot of people nearly died at.
Oh yeah. That was a fucking crazy show. That was mental.
I never went down to that. I know. Do you remember Steve McLean?
He got sparked out at that gig.
Yeah.
I remember. I saw it as well. Like we were stood there because I've obviously been a big fan of Ingested for years, and I just moved up to Manchester for uni, and Retro Bar, which was where the gig was at, was like 2 minutes away from where I live. So I was like, amazing. And R.I.P. Retro Bar. But on that day, I'd gone to watch a live recording of Jeremy Kyle, which was
all right,
which was fucking amazing. So I was there at Media
City. So you were at a live recording of Jeremy Kyle on the day. That's madness. And
only in the audience. I wasn't like a fucking guest on there or anything like that.
Yeah.
I know, but I was in the audience and I was like, all right, cool. And then I got on the tram, went back, and then went to Retro Bar. So Jeremy Kyle Ingested in one day. It was like such a combination of brilliance. And I think it was Dynamite Abortion that were playing, and I was like, oh, these are pretty sick, cool. And then Acranius came on. And I don't know what the fuck happened, but it just seemed to be that all these Beatdown fans had come down to watch Acranius and Ingested, and all the Slam fans had come down to watch Dynamite Abortion and Cerebral Incubation, and they just went bang.
Oh, they collided, yeah.
And it fucking, honestly, I've never seen so many fights. Like, there was people getting knocked out fucking left, right, and centre. There was people arguing.
It was like an oversold gig as well, eh? So
oh,
really
yeah. Well. It was one of Joe Mortimer's shows as well, which...
Yeah, it was.
After meeting Joe, and because I didn't know Joe at this point, but after meeting him, I was like, what the fuck happened there? And he just goes, don't. Like, it's just unbelievable. But
I really wish I went to that show. I heard so many stories, but yeah, no.
But yeah, and there was obviously loads of people there, and Callum was there, and Steve McLean was there, and I think there was a couple of others from up Glasgow, and I didn't know they were from Glasgow. And then when I came up to Glasgow, literally the week after, I saw all these people, and I was like, you were at the Manchester show like a week ago, and they were just like, oh yeah, were you there? And I was like, yes, and so that was cool. And then we saw you guys, and you obviously didn't have a drummer, and you had a backing track, which I hadn't I'd never seen a band like that before. So I was like, what's this going to be like? And then I played, and then listened to it, I was like, oh, this is Operation Good Destroyer. This is that band. Fuck. Oh, this is amazing. Because I didn't know who the fuck you were. I was like, yeah, cool. And then
As soon as you heard all the ridiculous samples, it was pretty evident. You know what I mean? Like, I am not going to lie. I especially see for the first album, and maybe it's evident in the writing and the music of it. People seem to enjoy it. It was pretty popular. But I spent more time looking for samples than I did writing music.
I was gonna say, like, how much time did you put into the fucking sample finding? Like,
so much. Like, I watched so many movies. I watched like so much TV shows, and I would like pause at a moment and be like, right, episode such and such, whatever,
oh my
into
God.
it, and then would find that and would put it into the song. And yeah, like I remember like quite a few songs in that album is like, I think we were doing kind of, what's that band called? Really heavy slam band, and most of their songs are samples. Quite an old band.
You have to narrow that one down.
I know it's really hard, but there's a band in my mind. Anyway, but that's kind of what we were going for. I was like, I want to be as ignorant as possible. I want people to hate this, but also enjoy it. And I think we kind of.
You fucking
found a good spot.
You definitely nailed that. It was 100%. One of them people like especially with this. How long did you take on the song names as well? Actually, that's a good point because some of the song names are just outrageous.
Yeah, like, let's go through some of them, shall we?
Go on, tell me your favorite one. What's your favorite?
From the first album. Where is it?
It's that fucking artwork.
I mean, there's ones that, see, these days, like, it goes to show you this was 2015. This was only 5 years ago, and this is the kind of stuff you would not get away with now, and it's just not on. But having songs called "Unquenched Lust for 10-Year-Old Butts," or let me see, "Prolapse and Pediatrician." That was about a doctor prolapsed in a child.
Amazing.
You just wouldn't. But there was nothing. There was no. I think a lot of people found offence in it in terms of like thinking that we were pedos. It was like, no, we're literally, all these songs are about making fun of the idea of it, because at the time it was just something to laugh at, wasn't it? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You hear a joke about a Catholic priest and an altar boy and you laugh at it. So we were doing that on a more extreme level. And obviously, you know this as well, like with misogynistic kind of titles and stuff like that. Like, there was no harm meant by it, but it was just it's comedic value.
It's a hard thing to shake off though, especially when
definitely
when workplaces or something, or like my missus Katie, like when she first read our song titles from like the first album and the first EP and things, she was just like, that is like disgusting. It's like it's fiction. It's honestly, it's like watching a film or reading a book. That's what it's like. There's, and she read some of the lyrics and she's like, you must be like that. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm like at all. It was just me trying to be an edgy 18-year-old. I was trying to be funny, but at the same time, like there is no, like you say, there's no harm in it. It's just
not at all.
Fiction.
See, that's it. When I at the time when we were doing that, I was just starting my job that I'm currently working at, and I had the exact same problem. I had a lot of people asking me like, what's this all about, kind of thing. But I had to say to them, like, there's no harm. Like, it's fiction. It's like watching a horror movie because there's a gory kill in it. Like, maybe people get some kind of high off it. I don't know, but people enjoy it. I mean, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember a Facebook group called UK Hardcore?
Oh, fucking yeah! I remember all of them. Yeah.
Right. So we had a guy at the time who was making T-shirt designs for us, and we just said to him, like, make a T-shirt design and just post it on forums and Facebook groups and see if we can gather any interest behind it. And do you remember the Rolf Harris T-shirt that we did?
I don't actually. No, I don't remember that one. So go on.
We had it was like a white T-shirt with the logo on the front, and it had Rolf Harris on the back like this, and it said "Unquenched Lust for 10-Year-Old Butts." Now this was just when all that stuff came out about Rolf Harris, so we're like, you know what, we're going to jump on that. It'd be like these days if we were to do it, we'd have Jeff Epstein on the back of a T-shirt or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, let's get the edgiest thing we can and put it on a T-shirt and see if people like it. So anyway, he put that on the group, and I remember getting messages. This was at like 2-3 in the morning, getting messages about people wanting to come up and kill me. And Callum was the exact same. We had so many death threats after that.
I can imagine, especially on UK Hardcore is just it was one of them where I don't know. It was just like a little clicky thing, and if you didn't like
Oh, it
go
was,
by
yeah.
their rules and their thing and blah blah blah, then you would like send death threats. Basically, it was fucking
Exactly.
awful, that group. I hate
It was horrible. Like, I mean,
it.
in hindsight, I wish we never posted it. But on the other hand, we got all these death threats, and then we got like 30 orders for that T-shirt. So, it was publicity at the end of the day.
Any publicity is good publicity. Like that's the thing, because then everyone knew of Operation Country Strike. Then, which
yeah.
I mean, you were known as like the fucking really edgy. Like, come on, let's just see how far we can go and how much we can piss people off. And it was fantastic.
It worked. I think that's why people booked us on gigs and stuff, was because of that. And I mean, maybe the whole gimmick of like we were the 2-man slam, so it was me, Callum, and an iPhone 4 with all their backing tracks on it, and that was it for a long time. Now I'm trying to remember what other gigs like we played. So obviously we played a lot of gigs up here, on and off, and then the first big show we played in England was.
It would have been on the Splatter tour, wouldn't it?
No, it wasn't. It was before that. It was with Osaya, and
us.
It was Osaya, you guys, Chainsaw Castration.
It was that.
OCD.
It was that tour. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it with the infamous line from Callum. If you remember, do you remember?
Oh, you need to remind me. I mean, I'm not going to go too much into in this episode now. I know people are curious, but like,
no, I know.
Fuck Callum. But like, yeah, I try not to remember too much that he said. But yeah, what did he say?
So you guys, I can't remember. I think you guys were second on. So we had Capital Punishment on first, and yep. I can't remember who was. I think it was Ben and Dan promoting it, and it put you guys on second. And I don't think you guys had like as big of a name in Manchester as you did in Glasgow. So you'd play up in Glasgow and you'd get like this insane reaction. But then you came down and played in Manchester, and a lot of people were obviously just like, "Oh, I'm just going to check these out." Like it was kind of like that sort of thing, because I don't think you hadn't played in England yet, and there wasn't like an insane reaction like you would have got in Glasgow. And Callum uttered, and I remember being stood at the back like this, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you said that." And he said, "Everyone needs to get moving, guys, because compared to Glasgow, you guys are fucking shit."
Yep.
And we were just there like, and I remember looking at you, and I'm pretty sure you just went, just like, "I'm just blocking that out. He didn't say that. I'm ignoring it." And then I don't think it was ever mentioned again. I don't think anyone ever spoke about that again.
I mean, early on, the problems were kind of starting to show. Like from gigs on, from there on, I like to have a microphone as well. Now, occasionally I would do vocals like the snorts and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But I would also like talk between songs, because one thing I hate is just, that deadness between tracks.
Yeah.
And I feel that happened quite a lot, and it really pissed me off after a while. And we were all about, I don't know, I got to the point where, and I don't know if you remember, like we'll get into it, but the Splatter tour is like a whole fucking chapter we can go into. So much happened on that. It was madness. But I got, it shows I started getting really, really fucking pissed before I went on stage and just blurting out the most random shit. And it seemed to work, and I just kind of kept going with that. And Callum did the vocals, but I always wanted to prefer the song introductions or just chatting shit between songs. But yeah, no, like in terms of that show, I do remember we were second on, but I enjoyed it. In fact, one memory I have from that show, I don't know if you'll remember this, was Osaya were headlining, and there was a guy.
I know exactly.
You know the guy.
I know exactly. Yeah. I know exactly what you're going to say. Go on, tell the story.
Right, so there was this guy at the gig in the middle. Now it was Retro Bar, and it wasn't crazy busy, and there was a few pits and stuff for Osaya. And this guy, like this big 6'4" brute of a guy, was in the middle of the pit shouting, "Come on, you pussies! I survived the Slayer pit." Like, do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say I don't know if he'll watch, but I remember it's a guy, and I won't say his real name, but he's known around Manchester as Satan. That's what we call. And I don't know who gave him that nickname, but he calls himself Satan now. So he's sort of embraced that whole nickname, but he's notorious around Manchester for sort of going in pits and being like that. There's a video of
So not much has changed since then.
No. But there's a video. He's a lot of promoters have like banned him from their gigs, and some venues have barred him as well because he's just a lunatic. Like, and oh my god, there's a video of the first Fall in the Brawl. I think Shattered Horizons were meant to play that, the first Fall in the Brawl, but you had like a problem with your van or something.
That was a Notorious tour where. Oh yeah, what happened in that? I wasn't right. So we had a van and a driver all ready to go, and then on the morning, the driver pulled out, so we had to like struggle to find the guy. And I don't know if you remember, we ended up getting this little fat guy from England, and he showed up in Glasgow at like 8:00 at night. So we then drove down as fast as we could to, I think, was it Within Destruction we're headlining that?
Yes, they were.
Yeah. So we just made it for the end of their set. So me and Jordan had came down. Now I was working and I couldn't get the time off work, so I wasn't going to be doing the tour. But I came down in the van, missed the show, and me and Jordan just were like, fuck it, let's go to Satan's and get pissed. So that's what we did, and then got the bus back home the next day. But
yes, yeah, that was didn't like. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did the van driver and Callum have a bit of a scrap?
Nearly. Like, I mean, I know stories that happened from that tour, but so much happened on that Shattered Horizons tour. Like, I wasn't a part of it, but I heard it. Like, they fell out with him a lot. He stole a lot of money from the guys, and it was just it was chaos. That tour ended up costing a lot of money. He left. We had Dean in the band at the time. Dean, who is Violent. I don't know if you've heard of him in Isla Sorna, and he got left. What is it? They went to a service station, and the driver got in and was like, "Is everyone here?" Had a quick look about and drove off. And they were like halfway down the M9 when they realised that Dean wasn't in the van and that they had left him at the service station. Like, I'm sure he won't mind me talking about that, but yeah, like, that was chaos. I'm quite glad I wasn't on that tour.
Bloody hell. But I'm pretty sure, like, because we played a gig in Brighton the day after. I'll get back onto Satan in a minute because we've sort of like drifted away. But you guys played in Brighton because it was with Human Error, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you guys played, or obviously you weren't there, but you played in Brighton, and we were on the same gig as well. And honestly, that's like, in terms of like Vision shows, that is the show we always say was the worst ever show we played. It was terrible.
I've heard stories. Yeah,
it was like it was the day after. It was the day after Fall in the Brawl, which was obviously a stacked lineup, and the turnout was fucking brilliant. Everyone went down really well.
You had that high from that show.
Oh, it was amazing. We were on a weekender actually. We were on a weekender with Begging for Incest, and I didn't do the first 2 days of the weekender because, like you, I couldn't get the time off work, but I could do the Fall in the Brawl and the show in Brighton. And we had a manager at the time called Jacob, and me, Jay, and Ben were driving down, and Dan and Judd were in one car. There was a huge crash on the other side of the motorway. And a load of fucking debris came over onto the other side. So, like, the motorway was just fucking standstill. And we were like, we're going to be fucking late to the show. It's all right. I mean, driving down to Brighton from Manchester is already, like, a 6-hour drive. So, it's a horrible drive. And especially when you're stuck in traffic. So, it took us about 8 or 9 hours to get down there. It was insane. We turned up 5 minutes before we were due to go on, which was fucking very lucky. We literally unpacked our stuff, chucked everything on stage, plugged in, went to go, turned round, sample was playing, we turned around to play, and no one there. And we were like, oh, right.
Oh my God.
Like, oh, maybe.
So you hadn't even checked at this point. You were that late to the show that you were just like, let's get set up and ready to go.
And we thought, because it was a big lineup as well. It was Begging for Incest, Human Error. There was us, Shattered Horizons, and there was some other bands on there as well, which would have drawn a crowd. And I remember thinking, there must be like people in the back or something like that. And there just wasn't. There was absolutely nobody there. And we were like, what the fuck is going on? And then we ended up staying at this house, which was absolutely fucking disgusting. And then we had to drive back, and we got about 3 hours sleep or something. And then we had to do the big 8-hour trek back up to, 6-hour trek back up to Manchester. But it ended up being about 8 or 9 hours because Ben had to stop at every service station to have like a 15-minute nap because he was that fucking tired. We were just like, oh God, this was awful. Like, so bad. It's funny though.
That's it. Like, when it comes to touring and stuff like that, like, it's chaos sometimes, but it's also funny. Like, yeah. I'm lucky I didn't really experience a bad tour with any of the bands I've played in, if I'm being honest. Like, I mean, so the first, like, we'll get into the Splatter tour because that's a fun segue to go into, but so obviously OCD at this point, we had released the album and we're fairly established at this point, and then Joe Mortimer contacted us. So what would this have been, 2016 if I'm right?
15, I think.
Was it 15? Right, okay.
2015. So we were talking about it at the Wake in the Cadaver show, and we were just like, has it really been that long? Oh my God.
I know, it's so hard. Like, time is a mystery to me now, honestly. Oh, I'm just at that age. But yeah, so 2015, Joe Mortimer contacted us and said, would you like to come on a tour with an American band called Splattered and Visions of Disfigurement? And we were just like, holy shit, this will be amazing. Do you know what it was? The driving force behind that tour for me was, obviously I got to tour with you guys and we had played shows before and we had had a laugh and stuff, and we knew each other pretty well. Plus we got to tour with these fucking crazy Americans, which I had heard stories about.
They were brilliant.
So yeah, so I was like, hell yeah, let's fucking do it. And that tour was just awesome. Like, I loved every day of that tour.
It was so good. It really was. Like, every show was just like, Joe did a fucking killer job on that tour. Like, he really promoted it well. And like you say, like with fucking Splattered, they were nuts. They were brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, yeah. I fucking love like all of them. And we're still sort of in contact with them. Like, we speak to them every now and then, but it's like, they're in California and we're here. Like, they don't come over here very often. We've never been to America. So it's like, fuck. So but they were such a good laugh. And just night after night of just like fucking
pandemonium. Yeah, that's what I think that's one of the things I enjoy most about that tour. Now, obviously the gig, there was what was it? I was trying to remember this the other day. Now, the last date of that tour was in somewhere that was very Preston, yeah, and it was one of the best shows. Remember,
it was amazing.
We played in the top floor of that place, and it was packed. Like that was an insane gig. And that
was a real shock as well. That one, because
I'd never even heard of the place. So I was like,
the thing is like, usually, like when you're like on, like, well, this has always been the thing with Visions anyway, is the last day of the tour is usually, like, the last show is usually one of the worst, which I think it's probably because, like, you know, you're going home tomorrow and the like, crowd is usually a bit crowded. It's usually like on a Sunday or something. And the last day, obviously, we went to Preston, and I was thinking, fucking Preston, like, it's such a random place. Like, I've never really heard of many. The last gig I'd heard there was Desolated had played at that venue, and I don't know if you remember hearing the story, but there was a lad from like the whole SCBD thing, and he'd like lobbed a pint glass and it had smashed in some girl's face at this Desolated show. Don't know if you remember hearing about that, but it was like huge at the time.
I vaguely remember.
Anyway, it was
it wasn't the Desolator guy. Do you remember him?
Oh no, it wasn't. I mean, like, I remember him. He's like a Hugo Boss model, you know.
Oh, seriously?
He's like a model. I don't know, it might not be Hugo, but I know he's like a model for someone like Hugo Boss. So like, he's
I've only seen Desolated once, and I remember him being at the show, like doing like acrobatics, pretty much.
Oh, crazy. But no, it was like one of the if you remember, like Sentenced, and like there was like the SCBD sort of lot, like the Second City Beatdown like crew sort of thing or whatever. It was one of their lot, and he'd like, I think he'd just got a bit carried away and he fucking threw this pint glass across the room and it smashed this like girl in the face, and like, I don't know if it like disfigured her, but I think it left some like fucking damage. Obviously it was a heavy bottom pint glass, and there was like a big like police case about that. But that was the only gig I'd ever heard about there. And I was just like, oh, right, okay, well, they obviously don't want any more metal bands playing there if, like, they think that's going to happen.
That happened,
the Adelphi, that's what it's got, the Adelphi.
The Adelphi, yeah, that was it.
That's the one. And So I remember turning up and just being like, this is just going to be dead. And the promoter, going back to that infamous Ingested and Cerebral Incubation show, the promoter there had like he was in the middle of all the fights at that, because he kept kicking everything off. He got like very, very drunk, and he made a bit of a tit of himself. I mean, he's one of the loveliest fellas you'll ever meet, but that night he got way too pissed, and he just made a bit of an idiot of himself. And he was putting on that gig, and I remember going like thinking, right, so this guy who everybody fucking clearly dislikes is promoting it. It's in the middle of fucking nowhere. It's clearly going to, and turned up, went through the door, and there wasn't that many people there. And then when you guys came on, just suddenly this flood of people were in.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? And it was amazing. It was one of the best shows like we've ever played.
So class. And the thing is, I remember like it was one of these places that you'd imagine like it was almost like a Salvation Army type like hall, you know what I mean? It's not the kind of place that it's not the kind of place you would imagine a metal gig would happen. No. And I remember like one of the things there, I remember the sound was fucking incredible at that gig. I remember it was packed. We all did a stage invasion. We splattered at the end.
Yes.
And that was a high point of that tour. I mean, there was a lot. I mean, you never came on the infamous night out in Liverpool.
We didn't know, because we stayed at I've forgotten his surname now, but Andy he's called. We stayed at his house, and I think we just decided to stay in and just have a few drinks there and get a bit pissed there, and that was sort of what we decided to do. And then we met you the next day, and I'll let you tell the story because you were there. But...
Do you know how? I want to talk about this so much. I actually have points written down about this one evening. Like this was a mad night. So obviously we had played in Maguire's Pizza Bar.
Yes,
if I remember correctly. Yous had went back, and the spotted guys were like, "Fuck it, let's go and get extremely drunk." So I remember we went to Crazy House. I don't think that's there anymore, as far as I know.
I don't know. I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think I was speaking to my girlfriend about it, and I don't think it's there. But yeah.
So we went to Crazy House, but we went to this tequila bar before it, and it was like £1 for a shot of tequila. And for some reason, I had a lot of spending money on that tour, so I was like, "Fuck it, let's see how many I can get." So, do you know what it was? I think because I'm Scottish and I was touring with Americans, I was like. And Callum wasn't really drinking as much. I was like, I need to make an example of Scottish people. So I was like, I got 10 shots of tequila.
You definitely did.
I just downed them in a row. Oh man, honestly. So I just downed them in a row. And the rest of the night from there on is kind of a blur. Like I do remember going because it was on a Wednesday or something, so Crazy House was dead. But we were having like a party, but it was everyone in the gig because Crepitation were there, and Splattered. You guys went. There was other people anyway, so we all went to Crazy House. Can't really remember what happened after that. We on our way back because we were staying at Joe Mortimer's house. I went into like a KFC or something like that. And the only memory I have, now there's a video of this somewhere on the internet. I don't know if Splatter put it up. But I remember eating a burger and literally vomiting up the burger full. Like, I don't know how that happened, right? Like, science can't explain it, but literally the full burger. And that's one thing that stuck in my memory from that night. I then remember crawling up the stairs of that venue. Now, can you remember? I'm going to embarrass myself for this story. Enough people have heard it.
I think I know which story you're going to say.
Yeah. So I was that pissed. Now, I don't know if anyone watching this has ever been extremely drunk on tequila, but it feels like the closest thing I'd imagine to being on heroin. Like, it's.
Wow.
I couldn't feel from my neck down. I couldn't feel anything. So obviously, we stayed in Joe Mortimer's flat, and for some, like, we were staying in a big room, all the Splattered guys were there. During the evening, I was like, I need to go to the toilet. So I got up, proceeded to go to the toilet, fell back asleep. And then I remember, I didn't wake up nicely. I just remember Joe Mortimer shaking the fuck out of me. And when I woke up, I woke up to him shaking the fuck out of me, saying like, "What the fuck have you done? What the fuck have you done?" And I thought like in my drunken state I had murdered someone by the way he was acting. But apparently what happened was I decided that the toilet was in the corner of the room. Which do you remember Tuna, the drummer from
Yeah.
Splattered? His clothes were in a pile in this corner of the room, which happened to be my toilet at the time. So, Joe Mortimer was shaking me to death because I had proceeded to do that. Now that is the most blackout drunk I've ever been. Like hands down, I've never been as blackout drunk as that. But I cannot remember a single thing.
I was going to say, do you even remember doing that?
Not at all. Like
wow,
nothing. That night is a total blur. And then you heard about this story the next day, but now names are struggling to me. What was the bass player called
Josh.
again? Josh. Did you hear about the window poo story?
Oh yes, I did. I did.
So Josh was trying to get into Joe Mortimer's flat at like 3 a.m, obviously, and they weren't able to get in. And he really needed to go for a poo, and decided to pull his trousers down, go up to a corner to which he thought was just a blank wall, and didn't realise that there was underground flats at this point. So this guy's kitchen window was literally at fucking like 3 feet high off the ground, and he decided to squat down and shit all over this guy's window. And I remember this because like the guy in the flat was awake at this point. I think he was washing his dishes or something, and he just saw this bum appear out of nowhere and just fucking proceed to paint his window. So apparently he then came outside and they saw this guy running. They were like, right, Josh was like, someone give me a sock so I can wipe. So he proceeded to do that and throw it into a bush. And the guy came out.
Whose socks was it?
It was, see, Nate, I'm terrible at remembering names, the vocalist.
Andy?
Andy, yeah.
Andy?
I think it was Andy's sock. So he had like one sock. He decided, I'll take both my socks off. So he took his socks off, and the guy came out and noticed that there was a shitty sock lying there. So he proceeded to ask them all individually, let me see your socks. So they started lifting their trousers, and they noticed that Andy didn't have socks on. And I remember Andy's excuse for it, "Oh, we're from California, man. We don't wear socks." And then Joe Mortimer proceeded to come out and be like, "Oh, they guys are with me." And the guy was just like, "Oh, you're staying with Joe. Don't worry about it, boys. I'll clean this up." Like, what the fucking madness?
My God, how did they get away with like? How did that excuse even pass? Like, "Oh, I'm from California. I don't wear socks."
Honestly, like I wasn't. Even if I was there at this point, I might have been, but I can't remember. I do remember crawling up the stairs, and do you know what it felt like? You know, in Lord of the Rings when they're climbing up the fucking stairs of Barad-dûr.
Yeah.
To get up, that's what it felt like. Joe's stairs felt like to me at that point. So I might have been in the stairwell at that point trying to climb these stairs. Anyway, but yeah, that happened,
and then you pissed in the corner of his flat.
I pissed in the corner of his flat. Yeah, but no, do you know what it was like? That tour has just stuck with me because of all the memorable things that happened with it, and it was a really good launch for like us to start touring from there. And it was just generally enjoyable. We all had fun. There was no stress because obviously Joe is amazing, and he's just so organised.
Oh yeah.
We'll go on to Slamfest at some point soon, but like he just knows his shit, and I'd love to, have that experience again.
Oh God, yeah.
It
was, but I mean, it was the same for us as well. I mean, like you say, like that kind of launched your tour, and it was the same with. I mean, we'd had like the tour with Chainsaw Castration before that, but that was sort of organised like pretty much by Jack Bowden and Dan, and some of the shows were even put on by Jack and Dan, and that was just purely booked ourselves, and we travelled about in 2 cars. So obviously Chainsaw were like, it was just like 2 people. It was Jack and Sam. So neither of them drove. The only 2 people who drove were Ben and Dan at the time. Ben had like an 03 Peugeot and Dan had like an 02 Fiesta. They were tiny cars. And
I don't know. Glasgow with those cars. Yep. I do remember them. Like Dan had this little shit box. Like I do remember how shitty that car was.
Yeah. And Ben's we called Ben's was called the biscuit tin. That's what we used to call Ben's one. And I called it Bluebird as well because because it was fucking this, like, I mean, it's a great car. We loved that car. Like, even though it wasn't mine, I spent so much time in that car, and it has a sad ending. Actually, the car it has a very sad ending, but it was like sort of like dark blue color, and I used to call it Bluebird because back in the day there was a car called Bluebird which broke the land speed record, and that thing was not going to fucking break the land speed record
Excellent.
at all.
Brilliant.
So I was like, I'm going to call it Bluebird, and so we did that. And but it has a sad ending, that car, like that, the story to that car, which is, rest in peace. But
R.I.P. Yeah.
like Ben got like a Corsa, like a bit of a newer car, and he handed that car down to his brother. And his brother drove it about for a bit, and then his brother decided he wanted to get a new car. So I don't know how much they bought that car for, but they got every fucking penny's worth. I mean, that went up to Glasgow, to Brighton. It went all over the place and never broke down once. It was a little workhorse. It was great.
I bet the mileage on that car was like
it was
over the top.
I have no idea what the mileage was, but it would have been insane. And anyway, I can't remember if they part exchanged it or they did whatever. Either way, they sold it and to this dealership. And then about 2 weeks later, Ben's mum got like a call on the phone saying like, your car's or like, one of your cars is like been ditched in Manchester. And or they were like, well, you're the last the last registered address for this car is you. And they were like, what? So what had happened is some like drug dealer or someone like that had bought the car like cash in hand, not registered it, and basically used it as like some sort of getaway car. Like literally just bought like, fuck it, I'm going to buy this car for like 100 quid because it wouldn't have been worth like a hell of a lot.
Yeah. So it wasn't registered to that man. No,
it wasn't registered to that bloke, and they drove it somewhere and like used it as some sort of getaway or something like that, and just ditched it somewhere. And then I think it got crushed because of that, and we were just like, oh no! And it was really
a sad story.
It was a sad story. We like because I remember Ben's mum telling me about it, and we were just like, what the fuck? Like, what a sad ending to such a good little car is. I mean, it wouldn't have been able to do much more than it had done anyway. But still, it should have had a lovely ending, but it didn't. It had a very sad ending.
I mean, it was sad, but at least it was somewhat adventurous. Like, it served as a getaway car or something. But
I mean, we don't know exactly what it was used for, but either way, it was found ditched and it was bought cash in hand, and this guy just hadn't registered it. And obviously, they rang Ben's mum because that was the last registered one. She was like, no, we sold it to this dealership. So that was it, really. So it was quite sad.
It could have got a lot worse for Ben. Like, he could have had the police at his door, like, are you a drug runner or something?
What the fuck are you doing? Yeah, I know. So we toured in that little biscuit tin. And then we toured in Dan's little, like you said, like little shitbox thing. Like there was duct tape all over it, and like I remember, because we'd like packed all of our stuff into it, and it was about this high off the ground because the suspension was fucked.
See, on the Splatter tour, was that because I remember like us and Splattered had the van, if I remember. So did you just take Dan and Ben's car?
They did like a swap halfway through. I think Ben drove one half of it, and then Dan drove the other half of it.
Yeah, because we had all the gear in the back of our van, didn't we? So you just didn't need to carry right, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we just like rotated who went in the van and who went in the car. I think Splatter just stayed in the van because obviously they'd come from America. So, and I think us guys just kind of rotated who went in the car. But oh no, it was so that tour was, but yeah, like you say, like it sort of put us on the road to like proper touring as well. Yeah, like there was such a good and organized and brilliant experience, and at the same time, fucking hilarious. Like, I don't know if you remember the place we stayed at in London. We stayed in that little hostel in London. Yeah. And now,
that was the one right next to the cemetery, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. So we.
God, yeah. Go on. You need to tell.
We like we.
Is this the toilet story?
Oh yeah, it's the toilet story. So we stay. I mean, there's a bit before that which I don't even know if you know about this bit. I don't know if you've ever been told, but obviously we all got pretty drunk after the show because we played the Dev in London, and that was a really good show.
That was a. Can you remember me? I was so pissed at that gig. I remember pouring cans of beer all over myself.
I think my top off. I vaguely remember that. I think you've done that a few times. To be fair, I think that's happened on a couple of occasions.
I really hope nobody on my work sees all this, but like, we need at some point we need to talk about the cock bottle opener.
That's literally what I'm talking about now.
Right. Okay.
Well, this is what happens, and I'm guessing you don't know what happened, which is quite funny. But we obviously got quite drunk and we went back to this hostel. And I think Splattered and Joe were in one room and Visions and you guys were in a room with us. And we stayed in there. And you'd got that drunk, you just passed out and you were just on the bed like this. And Callum and Judd were still up and they were like pissed and chatting. And I was sort of sat on the other side of the room, like kind of on my phone and carried on drinking and whatever. And then I sort of looked up. Now I had this bottle opener, which was like a wooden cock that I'd got from holiday. And I'd got it from Spain and I thought, oh, this will be brilliant to bring on tour because we'll obviously need a bottle opener and it's even funnier because it's a cock. Funny. So I brought it with us and Callum, I can't remember if it was Callum or Judd. I think it may have been Judd. But you were asleep, and for some reason, the bottle opener ended up in your arse crack.
Did it?
You've no idea. See, I remember I was sort of lay on the bed, and I looked over, and I saw Judd like very slowly putting this bottle opener, like this like cotton bottle opener, just in your, and we just left it there. And I think I think in the middle of the night, you might have just woken up and gone like that, like and just not remembered it. But yeah, you had the.
Oh wait. Did you not? I don't know if I remember that happening, and now I'm a bit shocked to say the least. But I did.
You deep-throated it the night before.
Was that the?
You
so
the night before.
Was that the night before? Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
That's fine. So as long as it wasn't the night after that. Anyway,
No.
Did you not pour beer on me as well or something?
I think so. Yeah, something like that. You just passed out, so we started fucking, and then the bottle opener ended up in your ass. It didn't go up your ass. Obviously, we didn't rape you in your sleep. But, it was just placed in your ass crack, and it just looked funny because you had this big cock. Anyway,
fucking.
But
the thing, I don't even mind bants. Like that's funny as fuck.
But so like I woke up in the morning and I think you guys might have still been asleep or something. I can't remember. Probably not Dan. Dan usually wakes up at the crack of a sparrow fart. But I woke up and I was like, right, I'm going to go clean my teeth and have a bit of a shower or something like that if the shower's in there. And I walked into to the toilet and view of the cemetery just from the window, which was already a lovely view that you wanted in the morning. This horrible.
It was next to Wembley as well, if I remember.
Right next to Wembley Stadium, yeah. And but there's big cemetery, and there was he was huge. This big sort of black fella, sort of washing his knob in the sink. And as soon as I opened the door and came in, I saw him sort of go. And like pull his pants up and then acted like he was washing his hands. I was like, he saw you washing your knob in the sink.
I can just remember, was it you and who was it? Was it just you that was in the bathroom? Because I remember you coming bursting in the room and you're like, I just saw this big guy just washing his knob in the sink.
I think it was, I don't know, Dan might have been behind me or something, but I remember like I was the one that sort of went in. I went in first anyway, and I saw this man washing his penis in the sink, which was horrible. I mean, horrible sight.
That hostel in itself was just such a shithole because I remember there was a shower in the hostel room. And it had clear glass panels, but there was no like. You had to just shower in front of everyone, like. Yep. And I remember desperately needing the shower. I was like, no, I can't.
I think somebody did have a shower, but I think they just had a shower in the boxes or something like that.
I think it was Judd, if I remember.
It may have been Judd. Yeah.
Oh God, that's the thing. Like, it's so funny. Like how you're talking about, like, right. No offense to Judd or Leached if any of you are watching this, but like how they're all like serious, like we are Leached. But like I've seen that guy do some daft shit in Visions of Disfigurement.
Oh God, he's honestly he is daft, and I still speak to Judd now. I'm still good friends with him, and he's still just as daft, really. But I mean, I remember being in Wales with Judd, and me and Judd like pretty much having an argument, stood on a pool table trying to change a light bulb, pissed out of our fucking heads, and then Judd fell off the pool table, and well, luckily he sort of landed on his foot, and he was like, like sort of pulled this like shocked face of, oh my God, what the fuck just happened? And I'm pretty sure that was it was that same weekend because we were playing Eradication Festival, and we ended up staying at this like mate through a mate's house, and it was the biggest dump ever. It was actually that is the worst place we've ever stayed at. The gig was amazing, but that was disgusting. That place. It was like an old bed and breakfast in the middle of Cardiff that some guys bought for, obviously
So
bought on the cheap.
it was actually a bed and breakfast. It wasn't just someone's house.
No, it was someone's. So basically what it was, it used to be a bed and breakfast, and some guy had bought it and turned it into a student house. So it was like a 10-person student house, which would have been ideal if you were a student because it was probably quite cheap. But there was a reason, because it was fucking disgusting. The smell was unbelievable. Like, the smell was just rancid. And we went downstairs into like what had been made into the living room, and there was like a bar in there, and we were like, "How sick's that?" But they hadn't done anything to it. It was just a bar, just there, like no drinks or anything behind it, just an empty bar. And I went behind it, like just sort of pissing about, and I walked behind it, and the guy just went, "Oh, I wouldn't go behind there if I were you." And I was like, "Why?" And he went, "Oh, there's like loads of rat piss and stuff like that behind there." It's like,
oh my God.
And I looked on the floor, and there was like little bits of shit and stuff, and it was obviously like a rat was behind there that just fucking shit everything. And I was like, right, I'm gonna sort of go anyway. And I there was an empty room there. Like, there was some student who used to live there, and he just left. He just fucked off and left without saying anything to anyone, because there was a note on the door saying, "How dare you fucking leave, blah 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 blah." And I was like, he's obviously not fucking read it because he's not here. So, and the door was still open, so I opened it, and I was like, a bed to me, brilliant. I'm gonna have. So I lay in this bed. It wasn't the comfiest bed in the world, but I still had a bed. The rest of the guys were like staying on like a laminate floor, like an air bed or something like that. And I was like, oh, fucking brilliant, cool. And anyway, so I woke up in the morning, and I'd put my things like on the desk, and I hadn't noticed this when I put them there, but then I woke up and looked, and there was like 3 like expired like credit and debit cards, all with like powder, like not like all on it, but like you could see where like it obviously like this guy had been like cutting up coke in his room, and I was like, oh no, for fuck's sake, right, great. So I'm in like an fucking drug addict's room, and then I thought, right, well, I'll go for a poo in the morning, brilliant. So I went for a poo, had a poo, and it wasn't nice. It was a hangover poo. And I remember flushing the toilet, and I flushed the toilet, but there was just nothing there, and it just went. I was like,
oh no!
Oh no! I was like, the toilet's broke. I was like, I've just pooed in a broken toilet. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. So I was like, am I gonna like tell the guy who lives here? Am I gonna tell him that I've just shit in that toilet? I was like,
you end up getting asked to clean it or something.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna leave. Anyway, so I told the band. And they were just like, "Oh my god, like that's anyway." And like someone like slipped it into conversation, and he was like, "Oh yeah, don't use the toilet in there. Like it's broke. It's been broken for months. Like the landlord just won't fix it." And I was just sat there, like, and everyone was like looking at me, and I was just there, like trying not to laugh. And then I stayed in there again, with my little pet shit who's just like sat in the toilet. And I was like, oh my God, like, anyway. And then Dan came in the morning, and I was like, what are you doing? He went, I'm going to have a poo on your poo. And I was like, it's broken. He went, yeah, well, why not? So Dan had a shit on my shit. And we just left, and we couldn't do anything. I didn't want to tell the guy because I didn't want to clean my own shit. But
never mind fucking Dan.
But do you know what I mean? Especially Dan. So we just left it. And I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if he ever cleaned it. I don't know. But the smell if that shit never got cleaned, the smell that must have been going around that house.
I know, like, I feel bad for the poor guy. Like, imagine he's having a bad day and he goes in and it's just a shit with another shit on top of it.
I know. But it was like
toilet you can't flush. Like,
it was like an ensuite toilet, and there was nobody in that room, and so we like sort of shut the door and things like that. And we were just like, let's just try and hide it as best. I think we put a load of toilet paper on top of it actually to try and hide it. I can't remember, but yeah, that was not a nice place. But yeah, on that same one, we were downstairs playing darts, but there wasn't a dartboard.
Right, yeah.
There wasn't a dartboard, so we were just throwing darts at the wall, and sort of imagining like a dartboard there. And Dan took it upon himself to throw a dart at Judd, and he threw this dart, and it stuck right, like, pretty much in his arse. And,
oh my God.
And Judd was like, fucking ow. Anyway, and like the dart sort of came out on that, and Judd was like, is it bleeding? And I remember me, Ben, and Dan was sort of like stood in like a line. We were just like, no, it's not bleeding, pissing blood. We were just like, oh my God, like shit. It's like no wonder he fucking left. You know, we threw darts at him, and yeah, we were quite mean to him. But yeah, no, like,
and that's another segment to go into. Like I'm going to talk about you for a bit. I'm going to be the guy questioning you, but just like the history of Visions, I'm so impressed that you guys have managed to fucking stay together. Like, I mean, considering like. Not so much to do with yous, but let's be honest, like bands in the UK come and go, especially considering when you started up, like it was the same time we started up, and round about that time, and like bands kind of kept going for a while and then breaking up. But fair enough, you guys have had members leave, but you always have managed to stay on top, and it's quite good. Like, who are the two permanent members? You and Dan? Would you say? Ben?
Me. Well, Ben's the guy who started Visions as an internet project on the side from mine and Ben's deathcore band, and then Dan came in, and then Judd came in, and then Alex was there as well for a bit.
Aye.
Alex was there.
Aye, because Alex was on the tour with Sparta, and I remember that. Alex is in like a kind of genty band now, isn't he?
Yeah, oh no, he's just left.
Oh, is he not in that band anymore? I've not been paying attention to anything. So.
I mean, I think he just left like last week or 2 weeks ago, something like that.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough.
But yeah,
Caius Mata.
Caius Mata, yeah. He started that with Zoe, and I mean, I think with Alex, I think he enjoyed the music for like a very short period, and then when he was in the band and things like that, I don't think he quite enjoyed it as much as he thought he would have. So he decided to step down because he was Alex is one of them. He likes to whittle. He likes to do it like we were saying at the start of the podcast. Like he likes to go. Blah, blah, blah. He likes all of that, and none of us really did. And he likes everything to be technical, and we don't. Like we like it just heavy.
Yeah, the raw heaviness. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we. So like we sort of parted ways with Alex, and that was sort of coming. We saw that, and Judd was a bit of a surprise, but. I mean, I think it was a surprise, more of a surprise to Dan and Ben than it was to me, because I'd been speaking to Judd like leading up to it, and he was sort of a bit like, I'm not really enjoying like death metal and things like that anymore. Like, I want to do my own thing and blah blah blah. I was like, do what you want, mate. Whatever makes you sort of happy. And then obviously Judd left, and then we got Max as like we got Max Baker like as a stand-in. Like we had a gig, we had Slamming Brutality in Germany coming up, and we were like, shit, we need a fucking guitarist because Judd can't do it. And so we got Max
with Begging Princess and that. That wasn't the tour that you did, was it?
No, it wasn't. Begging Princess they did play that one. There was a few bands. There was a lot of good bands that played that, like Epicardiac to Meet Ingested and things like the usual suspects. Right. A festival like that. And Max played that, and we were like, oh yeah, he did pretty well actually. Like maybe needs a bit like tweaking on his tone and things like that. And then we got Max in the band, and honestly, Max being in the band, to me it was a bit of a blur because we just did nothing. We just didn't do anything. Like we didn't write any songs. Like nothing happened, and we were just like, we're not doing anything here. Like we need to sort of decide what to do. So we parted ways with Max. It was one of them. It was a bit of a shitty situation. Like it sort of had to be done. I felt bad like having to sort of. I don't like saying we kicked Max out because it sounds a bit nasty. Like we didn't like him. We do like him, and he is still like a really good mate. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out with us. So
it just didn't work out. Yeah, that's understandable.
And we met Tom at Bloodstock. His girlfriend was like a big fan of Visions, and Tom was a fan as well. And Ben had been like speaking to Tom and Karen on like RuneScape and on Instagram and things like that, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're going to Bloodstock, camp with us." We were like, "All right, okay, cool." And we met them there. I kept forgetting Tom's name, so I ended up calling him Harry because he looked like a Harry. And
brilliant. He does look like a Harry.
He does. He does look like. I just thought you look like a Harry, so I'm just going to call him Harry. And that was that really. And then we sort of like after a bit, we just like it was like brought upon us. Like we'd been really good friends with Tom for a few months, and out of nowhere, it was like, "Oh yeah, I'm like a grade 8 guitarist," and we were like.
Why didn't you tell us this?
Did you not think to mention this like a couple of months ago when when we were in a bit of a lull sort of thing, if you like. And we were like, why didn't you mention this months ago? We were like, right, okay. So anyway, we got Tom in the band, and Tom did the tour, and Tom's just he's taken it and just fucking gone. It's
100%. Like I really like. I take it. Did Tom help a lot in writing the new album?
He helped a bit. A lot of the album was written before he joined, but he wrote. What did he write? He wrote Chains of Consciousness, and I forget the name of it. It begins with a D. I don't know. Decapitated, blah 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 something. It's the fourth track anyway. So he wrote those 2 tracks, and he wrote the intro as well. He wrote Body Farm.
Awesome.
But he helps a lot. And like, if I'd written a song, like I could send it to Tom and be like, what do you think? Like, do you think a bit should go here and a bit should go there? And we gelled quite well, and we have gelled really well with Tom, which is good. So, and
that's it. Like, listening to the album, I felt it's very, like, he's matured a bit, but not too much. Like, it's kind of, I find, see, writing the music, we were the exact same. Writing the music that we used to write, it doesn't have the same popularity that it does anymore. So you feel that you have to add a kind of a new touch to it. Now, I think at the time when, like, OCD and Visions back in the day, Beatdown and things like that, and deathcore was like, had a kind of high point at that time. Yeah. So you kind of took influences from genres like that. But with the new album, I thought like I had a very kind of new sound, and it just sounds big as fuck. Like, yeah, it was awesome, man. Like,
Thank you. Cool. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. But yeah, I mean, I'll sort of go back to OCD for a little bit as well, because like I was saying before, like, you guys were fucking unbelievable. Like, with the writing process with that, obviously you said like the first EP was written when you were pissed and you decided to just like shove this monstrous slam out there, which was brilliant. But like, from that, like, after, like, moving forward, when you decided to sort of go, right, okay, this has actually got a bit of momentum, let's fucking run with it. Was the writing process kind of the same? Was it sort of, let's just get pissed and see what we can shit out? Or was it like, I'm going to like write something and like send it to Callum, and then Callum can do his bit and whatever?
Aye, like when we were writing Slam Before Time, Stephen Jones had like quite a big influence, like, kind of, because I was struggling writing that album in terms of finding the sound, because I was quite new to the genre as a whole at that point. I'd been listening to things like deathcore. Now, obviously, when Shattered Horizons, and we'll come back to this, when we started up, like, that was 2012, and I'd only just started listening to deathcore and things like that. So I felt like I was trying to copy too many bands, and I felt I had the exact same problem when trying to write OCD. But one thing I found with bands at that time is they were very technical, and I was like, let's do the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
And just write things that are kind of, I wanted it to be mind numbing, but in a good way. And I find that really hard to,
like brain dead slam.
100%, yeah. And Slam Before Time is exactly that. Like, it's brain dead slam, and I'm proud of that. Like, I'm not ashamed to say that. And I wanted the songs to be short, because I was listening to a lot of grind and stuff like that at the time, and I was like, I just want it to be like a fast album you get through, and you're just like, because sometimes I feel, at the time, not so much anymore, but I felt that albums, if you're listening to an album and its whole, it kind of drags a little bit.
So, yeah.
And I was like, I want to write an album with the length of an EP, if that makes any sense.
How long is the album? Is it like 15 minutes or something?
Something like that, yeah. So I was like, fuck it, let's just get through this as quickly as we can. Also, another reason we did that is because it was cheaper. And obviously, like, at the time, we were like, I didn't have a job. I was at college at this point, and Callum was as well. And we didn't have a whole lot of money. So whatever money we had to record with, now at the time, recording with Stephen wasn't as expensive, but we started releasing merch to like raise funds for the album. And I'm pretty sure at some point, now this wasn't my decision, but we did start a GoFundMe for the album. And we got quite a bit of money for that. So then we released it. We printed CDs and released it on YouTube, and it gained quite a bit of popularity. So, I mean, although I can't go and listen to it now without thinking it's so ridiculous, I do appreciate it for what it was at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. And the thing is, as well, I'd only started. In fact, I've got the guitar here, but I had like this piece of shit Ibanez, and I was like, I want to play really low. So that album's in drop G sharp, I'm pretty sure.
Nice.
And I was like, I'm not going to be able to get this guitar to drop G sharp, but luckily enough, I did.
Yeah.
But listening to the tracks, like, that album on its own sounds pretty good. But if you were to like take the individual tracks, it did sound pretty shitty. But as a whole, it sounded pretty good.
Yeah.
And I was happy enough with it to release it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you eventually got sort of Rory in the band as well, and then I think Jordan was in for sort of a short period of time, and there was. There was quite a funny story. There was one bit. I can't remember where it was. We might have been in Glasgow, or it might have been Death to Cancer or something like that. Either way, we were together, and I think it was it was you, and you come up and you went, "Oh yeah, we've sold out, by the way." And I was like, "What do you mean?" You went, "Oh, we wrote a track that's 3 minutes long." We were just like, You've done what?
Yeah,
how have you
that
wrote?
was for our split that we did with Pestilent. Remember, that was for Ian Mason. He was
That
in
was it, yeah.
the old vocalist. Yeah, what song was that? It was either Scat-Induced Trauma or Anal Invasion. One of them's like 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, fuck it. Like, that was like a little bit. Timelines are kind of skewed out a little bit in my memory, but obviously we wrote the album and we did the tour with you guys. And after that, we were like, right, let's start writing something else, but we didn't want to write another album yet. So we decided to do that split with Pestilent. And then obviously Ian died. And we're like, right, we'll do it in memory of him. So we released that, and it was pretty popular. And I had songs on it that were slightly longer, and I felt like this is a kind of the path I want to go down.
Yeah.
With that, and the 2 songs in that I was well proud of. I think they're awesome. Anal Invasion is a banger. Like, I'm like, I think that was a tune. And then obviously we wrote the self-titled EP. And all those songs are like 4 minutes long.
It's those artworks. It's just fucking.
It's ridiculous.
They're insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like when you first released that artwork, that popped off. That banged. Everyone was like, just like.
I have to give credit. I have to give credit to Grissom Graphics for that, because like I remember at the time I was like, when we came up with a name for Slam Before Time, it was Land Before Time, and I was like, Slam Before Time, so we have to have a dinosaur on it. But then I said to Callum, I was like, why don't we do like an Iron Maiden and have like our own fucking, mascot type thing?
Yeah.
So then we came up with the idea for Bukakisaur, and I was like, why don't we have him on the cover of it? Like, fucking alas, he's so hard that his dick's coming out of our mouth. And then that's how we came up with that. And worked out pretty well, I think.
I love seeing the censored versions of that. That one, like, and like if you go on Spotify and you just see like nothing and nothing, like it's just you're like, oh, I wonder what he's doing. Like, it was brilliant. It was great.
Like, I really wanted to go so much further with that, and we'll get onto this, but Slamfest 2020, RIP. We were meant to do a comeback show at that.
Yeah, you were.
I wouldn't so much as call it a comeback show as more of a final show, because after we wrote the EP, which I put a lot more time into writing the songs, and I was so hyped on this EP, and I don't think it got the recognition it deserved at the time, because like, obviously, like on the album we had a lot of guest vocalists and stuff like that, and I was like, you remember at the time everybody was doing that, we were all getting guest vocalists and songs and stuff, and I was like, I want to get more on the EP. So we got Don Campan, Andrew from Cerebral Incubation, Dickie Allen before he was in Infinite Annihilator.
Wow.
And it didn't launch as much as I would like. And after that, things started to slow down for us, but we were getting opportunities. And this is where I'll kind of go into talking about Callum just a little bit. But we started getting opportunities for gigs like abroad, and I was so hyped for that because we had never played in Europe. And at the time, like, I was super hyped and I had the money, I'd started my job and I was ready to do it. Like, Callum wasn't, and inevitably, like, we just clashed in that arena because Rory had joined the band at this point, and we had sold out and we were playing with a drummer, and so Rory had been playing with the band for a while. We played a lot of shows, and we were like, finally, we're going to get over to Europe. And then we just hit a brick wall with it, and it just kind of ended, which is a shame because we had like demos written for a whole other album. And at some point, I would like to come back to that, but I'm not sure. I've kind of grown. I still like Slam, but I think if we were to write another album, it would have to be totally different.
Yeah, exactly.
Never say never, because it might still happen.
Yeah. Who was going to do? I assume Callum wasn't doing the vocals at Slamfest.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, at Slamfest we had we were going to get. I'm sure you won't mind me saying this now because it's not happening. But Daryl from Scordatura is going to be doing vocals for OCD at that show. Obviously, that's not happening now. But if he wasn't doing it, we were talking about doing this thing where because we had talked to Sam Taylor about this as well. We were going to get a bunch of like people from the scene to come up and do different songs.
Yeah.
But we were also like, with OCD, I wanted to go so far with it in terms of like theatricality, and Callum wasn't into it. Like we had plans. Like I'd never told anyone about this, but I'll tell the world about it now. I was in talks with a special effects guy down in England, and he was going to build us a Bukakisor suit, like
oh
a
wow,
professionally made, like proper, like VFX artist level film quality
shit,
Bukakisor suit, and we were going to play gigs where we had him on stage, like dishing out buckfast to people and doing mad shit and stuff like that. And he was going to be like our on-stage mascot, because I realised I was like, OCD, like Shattered was my serious band at the time, but with OCD I wanted things to be overtly ridiculous.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think that would have like gained a lot of attention, because I don't think our music was strong enough for that. So I was like, let's go over the top theatrics, and I wanted to get that. Anyway, so
that would have been so sick.
Oh man, like I was so ready for it, but Callum just wasn't. He was wanting to be more serious, and I was miles away from that. I was.
I mean,
like,
you can't be serious in a. I mean, no offense, but you can't be serious in a band with the name Operation Cunt Destroyer.
Exactly, and I said
it's quite obviously like a fun band, isn't it? It's quite obviously going to be something that's just, you know what you're going to see. You're going to see something a bit ridiculous. So,
and this conversation came into play so many times, and we just clashed too much in it. And the thing is, as well, like I had ideas for the next album artwork, and do you know what? I'll send you after we've done, because it's never getting released now. But I'll send you it. But we had album artwork ready for the next album.
all right.
And I'll send you, and you can even like put in a little clip now if you want or whatever. And we had it ready, and we'd written songs, and I was like, I wanted it to be a grand album, if that makes any sense, with the ridiculousness of it as well. So I was like, it needs to be big, but it also needs to be very stupid. And I just wanted to go for that. And that's why we talked about getting like the mascot on stage. I wanted to get like I wanted to go with like pyrotechnics and shit. Like I had all the money put aside for all this stuff. I was going to pay for it myself. So I was like, fuck it, let's just do it. Yeah. But another thing we clashed on is the idea that other bands wouldn't be taken seriously in the genre if we did stuff like that. I was like, I don't really care, because like, we were our own thing, and people knew us for being ridiculous. So why don't we just, grasp that thought and go even further with it?
Yeah.
But yeah, it just never happened. But for the OCD,
it was a shame when OCD ended. Like I think what year was it? Was it like 2018 or something that you guys sort of like called it a day? Like I remember sort of. Well, I think, did Callum leave and then it sort of went to like, and then it split up? I can't really remember exactly how it happened.
Yeah. So what happened was Callum decided to leave the band because he just wasn't feeling it anymore, and with that, at the time, like I'll admit this, that he managed to convince me to just, because initially when he left, I was like ready to get another vocalist and stuff, but he managed to convince me to just call the whole band quits. And to this day, I still regret that decision, because I wanted to go further with it, because I was like, you know what, if I'm going to have a legacy of any kind, it might as well be something as ridiculous as this. So
I mean, I mean, you definitely already sort of got that, but I know, like, you could. I feel like you could have gone further with it as well, which is the annoying part. As well. I'm sure it is for you as well. Is you, like, with the theatrics and everything, like you were saying, if you'd have gone ahead with that, that would have been like fucking. That would have been huge.
Like that's it. I think it would have attracted people to book us more, because even when I've told people that story before, and they were like, that'd be awesome to see. And that's what I was thinking. I was thinking of it from a fan's perspective. I was like, what would people like to see at a show for a ridiculous... If you're going to see a band called Operation Cunt Destroyer with like ridiculous song titles, what more can you add to that? Like, you can add like crazy theatrics, you can add like patter, like I really wanted to work on that side of things. I wanted to have like a comedy routine. So we're not just, you know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, like, so yeah, OCD finished because we clashed on that. And then shortly afterwards, Shattered Horizon were working on Abhorrence. And I was like, I was quite loosely involved in the writing of that. But at that point, because I was quite sour about what happened with OCD, I was like, fuck this, I'm leaving Shattered as well. So I decided to leave Shattered at that point. And for a short while, they replaced me, but then the exact same thing happened with him. Then Callum and the rest of the band just clashed, and then that fell to shit as well. So
yeah, there's a bit of a theme there, isn't there?
I mean, I don't know if you'll ever watch this, but I don't want to speak too ill of him. But yeah, like there was at the time there was definitely like clash with us.
Yeah,
creatively, and like behind the scenes, we weren't getting on for financial reasons and stuff like that.
And everything
everything, it just wasn't working out. But for the OCD show that we're meant to do this year, I wanted to kind of touch on that theatrical side of things, and I was like, if we're going to do one last show, I want to do a show that might convince me to start it up again. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like, I need that extra push to kind of, because at the moment I'm kind of like, I might not. If we played a show and it went off and it was we had a good turnout, and like, if people remembered what we were and showed up to show respect for that, then I think it might give me a bit more drive to kind of start it up again.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Because that's the thing. People still talk about us. I still see on forums and stuff, people talking about us and showing the artwork and stuff like that. And
definitely, yeah.
So I think people still remember us, but I don't want to get to the point where years down the line, we're at a relic at this point. I want to, like, if I'm going to do it, it has to be relatively soon, but we'll see. We'll see.
Exactly. Cool. I think, to be fair, we've been going for a fucking long time now.
Yeah,
I think, like in every podcast, we've covered everything, but we've also covered nothing. we've just chatted shit, which is brilliant.
See, that's it. Like, but people can take what they want from this.
Exactly. I mean, it's been great having you on. It's been great sort of reminiscing with the tours and things like that, and reminiscing with the old OCD and stuff like that, and Shattered and everything.
Same for me, man. Like, I've enjoyed, like, kind of touching on this, because I never talk about it anymore. When it comes to music, like, I'm kind of trying to focus on the future and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's nice. It's nice to go back, but yeah, definitely. So, I mean, good luck with the new project. Whenever that gets announced and everything. Have you got a name for it yet, or is it literally just a?
We've touched on a few names, none that I'll mention, but like we've kind of. I've got so many ideas for it, and my brain's filled with ideas. So I just want to, hopefully, when this lockdown starts to ease up, like Jordan's starting to like record music, so me and him are going to start writing I've not even mentioned this. So the members that are currently in the band are Jordan from Aphotic, playing bass, and Craig O'Hare, who was in Shattered, is the drummer.
Yes.
So he's going to be doing it. But things have happened. Like, Craig's just recently had a baby.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you saw that. Yeah. So congratulations, Craig.
Yeah, congrats.
So that's obviously kind of put a hold on things, as well as the pandemic, as well as not finding the time. But 2021 is going to be my year. So, although I said that last year about this year, but
I mean, hopefully there's not going to be a global pandemic next year or anything that's just going to stop everything in its tracks. Which I think, in a way, though, in a weird and twisted way, I think it has sort of been kind of good in its own, like, in a weird, like, well, for me, maybe not for other people, but for me, because it's been sort of nice that, like, the world has just kind of stopped and everyone's just been able to, like, look around and go, oh shit, like, this is cool. We've got so much to do at home and things like that. Like, if this was years ago, like, if this happened in like the 80s or the 90s or stuff like that, people would be going mental because there wasn't a lot to do at home. There wasn't really TV, or there wasn't a lot of TV and things like that. So, like, I think we've been quite lucky to have the pandemic now, because we've got things like Netflix, and I could sit here and write music, or we can do the video chats and things like that.
Oh, it's definitely beginning for that. Like, see, at the beginning of all this, I thought it was like a free holiday, and I was getting paid for it. Like, I got to stream so many shows. Like, I've started collecting fucking Blu-rays and stuff, and I've watched so many movies during all this. Do you know what it is? Like, I was actually talking to John the other day. I was like, I want to watch so many movies to the point that if we go to a pub quiz, we're going to fucking nail it.
Gonna get everything right.
Honestly, like, but yeah, TV shows and movies, I've been all about that. So it's been good for that. And music. I've been buying guitars and stuff as well. So Yeah, that's been fun too. So.
It has been interesting. Everyone's just sort of found something new that they want to do as well. I mean, I was like doing DJing for a bit and stuff like that, and I'm now like programming.
I noticed that. Are you still doing your?
Well, I had a problem with I'm still like I plan to carry on with it, but unfortunately the decks that I bought broke, and I went on to like the technical support. By the way, like I don't even care. Like fuck Hercules, like fuck them so bad. Like I was fuming with them. So he sold me these decks. They worked for a bit, and it was great. And then they stopped working. Like they just stopped playing, and I was like, have I done something wrong? Like, is there something on the software? Is there something here? I was like Googling the problems, and nobody else has had this problem. And I was like, what's going on?
I take it they were still under warranty and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, it was. And I rang the support thing up, and they were like, all our lines are closed, obviously because of COVID. And I was like, for fuck's sake. So I've got to email them. So I emailed them, and they went, we'll get back to you within 3 to 5 working days, because obviously we're very busy. And I was like, brilliant. Okay. 2 weeks later, they replied and just went, we don't know. And that was it. And I was just like, what do you mean you don't know? I've sent you a video. I've sent you 2 videos of it, of like me actually doing it, and a video of like the software and what that's doing. I've explained it fully. What do you mean we don't know? So I like replied like, it took you a week to say that. Like, are you taking the piss? And they were like, we're very sorry. Have you tried turning it off and on again? And I was like, right. And I just went, can I return them? I want to return. I've got the receipt and everything like that. I'm returning them, and I returned them, and I got my money back, which was good. I really wanted to sort of carry on with it, but it was just a shame with the decks and that. So I intend to.
Have you thought of another company to go with for your decks or something like that?
I'm probably going to go with Pioneer or something like that. That's probably going to be mine.
They're like an industry standard, though, aren't they? So
pretty much, yeah. I mean, I just googled like what are the best decks to sort of start out with, and Hercules did this like really good starter pack, and it came with like lessons on how to do it, like how to beat match and things like that. And I was like, oh, cool, awesome. All right then. And so I tried that, and sort of I kind of got the hang of it, and I was sort of like, I was okay at it. Like there was some bits I was like, oh, that sounded sick, and then I'd do it again, and I'd be like, well, that was shit. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, it's a weird one. It's
a learning curve, yeah. Like.
It is kind of difficult. I mean, I always like had the preconception of, oh, DJs just press play and that's it. And we went down to London.
Honestly, like
I went down to London with work, and I was like, oh yeah, and we had like a DJ booth like set up, and I was like, yeah, go on, let's have a go at this, and played it, and I was awful at it, and it annoyed me, which is why I bought the decks to try and learn to do it, because it pissed me off that much that I couldn't do it. So I was like, right, I'm gonna do it.
But keep working at it though, because that's a fun, like, it's good to have. You know, if you're just playing slam all the time, you get bored of it. So it's good to have something else to kind of work on the side. So
exactly.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so yeah, I think it's probably a good place to wrap up and everything. So thank you very much for coming on. It's been fun. It's been nice. Good luck with the new projects again and everything like that. Thanks to everyone for watching. If you've watched it, obviously, like you know, I had a bit of a couple of weeks break for whatever reason, but I did. So yeah, thank you very much. Like and subscribe and do all that bollocks. So yeah, cheers.